Welcome to Therapy Explained, where we explain, demystify, and destigmatize mental health and mental health treatment. My name is Deniss. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and your very own mental health cheerleader. Today, we are going to be debunking 5 more therapy myths. Now, I have already debunked some myths that you shared with me on Instagram, which were very, very fun to do. And then I think I also have another video on it. So if you want to check those out, go ahead and do so. But today, I'm going to be debunking 5 more. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump on straight to that video. If you're excited about it, give this video a thumbs up. And if you're not already, remember to subscribe to this channel for more videos on all things mental health. But let's just go ahead and talk about 5 therapy myths that are not true. Myth number 1, they will tell other people. Confidentiality is actually one of the number 1 protectors of therapy. We are ethically and legally required to maintain confidentiality, of course, with some limits. If you're going through an organization or through your insurance, of course, they will know that you are in therapy, but they don't know what you are talking about. So you're actually protected as long as there are no safety concerns. And that really is the number 1 reason for why anyone would even break confidentiality. This means any sort of harm that might come to you, whether you're saying that you want to hurt yourself or any harm that might come to anyone else. If you're reporting that you have thoughts of hurting someone else or that someone else is hurting someone, whether that's yourself, if you are underage or over 65, or if you're in a conservatorship, or anyone else that falls into those protected classes. So really, it all has to do with safety. If you ever want your therapist to talk to anyone else that's not you about your treatment, you actually have to sign consent in order for that to happen. So really, you are protected. You don't have to worry about this. We're not telling anyone what you're telling us. We really are just here to help you. Myth number 2, your therapist will fix you. This one I think I've tried to debunk more than once, and that's because I think it's extremely important. This has come up a lot, that perhaps you go to therapy and your therapist will just have the answers, that we can just tell you, this is how you should live your life and this is the only way to live your life. The truth is that the only person that really knows that is you. You are the only one that can say what feels good and what doesn't, what feels safe and comfortable and what doesn't. And our job is to help you figure out what that is. We, of course, have training and education and experience that we use to inform that. Studies, things that we have learned through our, again, education and training, but also our experience. And we can help you figure out how you feel about your choices and really what some of those choices may be to start with. But we can't tell you which one to choose. Ultimately, you are the only one, again, that knows what is best for you. So we can't give you advice, and we also don't fix you because you don't need fixing. There are patterns and behaviors that you might engage in that you're not proud of or that might not be helpful, but those are behaviors and patterns. They're not all of who you are because there are also really wonderful things about who you are. Myth number 3, it's one size fits all. Along with this, I think is also the misconception that you'll probably just choose a therapist and they should fit you and then it'll work. But unfortunately, sometimes finding a therapist is like dating. You have to try out a few first to see what fits the best. And that's because there are many different types of therapists and many different types of therapies. I've said this in the past, but it's true. So there might be a certain type of therapy that you don't gel well with, that you might not enjoy, that might not work for you. Perhaps you are someone who wants to be able to process things and go back to your past and get a better understanding of your behaviors. But maybe you're someone who isn't looking for deep processing and long-term therapy. Maybe you just want someone to support you through a particular moment in time and just figure out how to manage that so you can get going. So finding out what kind of therapy works well for whatever it is you're looking for is important, but also the type of therapist. Sometimes you'll find someone who might be more playful and more relaxed, and you might enjoy that, but you might not. You might need someone who is perhaps a little bit more structured and maybe a little bit more serious. So interview some people before you give up and try some of them out first. Don't feel discouraged if you don't find the right fit the first time. It might take a few times, but you'll find it. And if it's not working, don't worry, it's not you. It's just, it takes some time to find the right therapist. Myth number 4, they will medicate me. This one can be a fear for particularly immigrant communities, or what I can really speak to because I specialize in this is Latinx communities. So we might be afraid that if we go to therapy, our therapist is going to say, oh, just take this medication and you should be fine. The truth is actually that in order to be able to prescribe medication, you have to be a medical doctor. So this is only a psychiatrist who can give you medication. And a lot of LMFTs and PsyDs cannot prescribe medication. LCSWs cannot prescribe medication. There needs to be particular training and certain education requirements that are needed in order to be able to prescribe medication. So we really can't legally do that in the first place. We just can't. So wrong. We do not prescribe medication. Now, if medication is something that you are trying to figure out if it's right for you, we can also help you with that. Again, as always, we can't tell you yes, do it, or no, don't do it, but we can help you figure out how do you feel about it? What are your options? What are the pros and cons of doing it? What are the pros and cons of not doing it? And essentially, what do you feel is best for you? We also do help you kind of, again, figure out if you're already on medication, how you're feeling. I tend to encourage a lot of my patients, if they are on medication, to keep a med journal where you can write down when you're taking your medication and what kind of symptoms you're having, particularly in the beginning when you're starting out a new medication, so that you can communicate with your psychiatrist about how you're feeling about your medication. But we don't push meds. Of course, we each have our own personal feelings about medication. Some therapists feel strongly against it, some therapists feel strongly for it, and of course, many fall somewhere in between there. So we do have our opinions, but we never put them, or at least we should never be putting them on you. So we don't medicate, we also don't give advice about medication, but we can also provide psychoeducation, which means information about medication, because most of us do receive a certain level of training to understand the medication that our patients might be taking so that we can support you in the best way that we can. And myth number 5, it is expensive. This one's half true. I wish I could say that it's not true at all, but yeah, it can be. Particularly when we're talking about private practice. If you're paying out of pocket for therapy, yeah, therapy can run you anywhere from, $65, which is low cost, all the way up to, I've heard numbers like $250 per session. So yeah, it can be very expensive if you're going out of pocket and if you're going into private practice. But there are other resources. You can use your insurance, and your insurance might pay either all of the session or a part of the session, either for an extended period of time or for a certain amount of time. So do ask your insurance to see what they cover, but you can get some of their therapy costs covered through your insurance. There's also usually community organizations. There might be some sort of low cost or no cost mental health service in your community. Some of them do require that you apply and provide proof of financial hardship in order to be able to qualify for that. But if you do qualify for it, it shouldn't be too difficult to just submit that. The problem with that, of course, is that it's not that easy. Sometimes you have to get on wait lists, and you can't get therapy either right away or even consistently enough like you would in private practice. Now, this is a frustration of mine that I could probably save for another video, but yeah, unfortunately, it can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be. Lastly, if you are trying to do private practice or prefer to do private practice, because unfortunately that is where you tend to get more consistent and better value in terms of treatment, and that's because private practice therapists, we have more time, more energy, we're not burnt out, and we are able to have more flexibility in our schedule to attend trainings. So we just have more freedom in order to be the best that we can with our clients. Not that if you're not in private practice, you can't, of course, but I think that it allows us more of a privilege to be able to do that. So if you are looking to work with a private practice therapist, you can also ask for sliding scale or a reduced cost session. So that could be another avenue through which you can go to try to reduce some of those costs for mental health. I hope that busting some of these myths encourages you to seek out therapy. If any of these were holding you back from asking for help or going to therapy, again, I hope that knowing that they're not true can maybe open up the door a little bit more into the possibility of going through with it. If there are any other myths that I missed or that you hope that I can address in a future video, go ahead and leave them down in the comments below. Or if there's a myth that you had but then went to therapy and realized, oh, I guess it doesn't work that way, let us know. I'd be interested to know what your experience has been. As always, your cheat sheet is already available to you on Instagram, so hop on over there to get access to it. But before you do, please give this video some love in any way that feels authentic to you. Every like, comment, subscription, and share helps spread the word about free mental health information and education, and of course, it is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, I'm always cheering for you.